Right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And as we are here with the start of a new college football season, it's time to boogie, folks. And when I say time to boogie, I want to talk about my picks for this weekend in the world of college football. And you better believe it is going to be a dandy. It all starts later today with Auburn out of the SEC. These are my key games for this week, okay? But nonetheless, Auburn out of the SEC traveling to take on Baylor out of the Big 12. And after two mediocre seasons so far under head coach Hugh Freeze, will Auburn be able to begin this year on a positive note? They've got themselves a new quarterback and former Oklahoma Signal caller Jackson Arnold. Will he be a difference maker for Hugh Freeze and the Tigers? Then on the flip side for Baylor, they've got themselves a solid quarterback in Sawyer Robertson. I think Auburn is going to show signs of improvement under Hugh Freeze this year, but it's not going to come in this game. It's one of those where the Tigers on the road are favored by 2.5 points, but I'm going to take Baylor at home by the score of 31-24. Now, tonight, you've got Georgia Tech out of the ACC traveling to Boulder to take on Colorado out of the Big 12. And of course, for Colorado head coach Deion Sanders, he's no longer has the services of his son, Shador Sanders, a quarterback who's now in the NFL, or the dynamic playmaking ability of Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner from a year ago. So Colorado's got themselves a new quarterback and former Liberty quarterback, Kadon Salter. Let's see how he can get acclimated to things for Coach Prime. Colorado still has some talent on the team, albeit that the expectations are not as high this year. I look at cornerback DJ McKinney, and like I've talked about it before, one of the best corners in the Big 12. But you look at Brent Key's Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they definitely want to begin this season on a positive note. You've got plenty of experience in the backfield for Georgia Tech with the likes of senior quarterback Haynes King, as well as senior running back Jamal Haynes. I like this Georgia Tech defense, which is led by middle linebacker Kyle Efford. And it's one of those things for me. Georgia Tech loves to run the football. Colorado, under Coach Prime, has struggled to run the football. The Jackets are favored by 4.5 points on the road. I'm going to take the over in this one. I'm going to take Georgia Tech by the score of 31-20. Now, moving ahead to tomorrow and the big one that everybody is talking about, the number one team in the land to begin the year, the Texas Longhorns out of the SEC, traveling to Columbus to take on the third ranked and defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, some people are surprised and some people are questioning why Ohio State is favored at home. But at the end of the day, Ohio State still has themselves a very good team, in spite of the fact that all of the talent that they lost from last year. Ohio State, they're going with a redshirt freshman at quarterback in this one, and Julian Sand. And let's see how quickly he can get acclimated. And if you're Julian Sand, your first start is against this Texas defense, which includes edge rusher Colin Simmons and middle linebacker Anthony Hill. But nonetheless, Sand's got some talent around him. We saw the dynamic freshman year that wide receiver Jeremiah Smith had, and he gave this Texas secondary issues in that Cotton Bowl, which of course was a college football playoff semis. Defensively, there's a lot of talent still for the Buckeyes with the likes of Sonny Styles as well as Caleb Downs. How are they going to get acclimated to Matt Patricia's defense? Remember, Jim Knowles, Ohio State's defensive coordinator last year, is now at Penn State. Uh, a lot of people are focusing on Arch Manning in this contest as the hype train is around him. And let's see if the youngster at quarterback is going to live up to it. Make no mistake about it. Texas has some talent. I talked about what they have defensively. Also, keep your eyes out for the running backs for Texas. So I'm talking about Quay Weisner and CJ Baxter. A lot of NFL talent on the field in this one on Saturday. I think it's going to be back and forth. We saw these two blue bloods have a home and home about 20 years ago, and in both circumstances, it was a road team that won. I think that trend continues tomorrow, and I'm going to take Texas by the score of 24-20. Now, an ACC SEC showdown tomorrow, excuse me, in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, as you're going to have Syracuse taking on Tennessee. Now, the Vols come into this contest favored by 13 and a half, and I think the game is going to be a lot closer than that. I think head coach Fran Brown is really changing the culture at Syracuse. Both of these teams are looking to build off of 10-win seasons from a year ago. Syracuse now has former Notre Dame quarterback Steve Angeli as their new signal caller, while Tennessee, of course, after that Nico Iamaleava controversy in the offseason, they're going with Joey Aguilar. Like I said, the Vols are favored by 13 and a half in this one. I think this game is closer than most people say, but I'm still going to say Tennessee 23-17. Now, another ACC SEC showdown is you got the eighth ranked Alabama Crimson Tide traveling to Tallahassee to take on the Seminoles of Florida State. And the Tide comes into this game favored by a lot. And of course, Alabama was on the cusp of getting to the college football playoff last year. Didn't work out. And of course, if you're Alabama, you want to get off to a strong start this season. So, of course, in year number two under head coach Kalen DeBoer, he's going with the junior Ty Simpson at quarterback. No Jam Miller at running back in this game for the Tide as he's out with injury, but nonetheless, you still got wide receiver Ryan Williams as well as senior linebacker Deontay Lawson. Florida State, they cannot, you know, hope or have rather a carryover from last year. Of course, the expectations were high for Florida State. They were expected to win 10 games in 2024, but nonetheless, they lost 10 games. One of the biggest issues for Florida State, they were 132nd in the nation last year in offense. That's not going to get it done again. The Seminoles and head coach Mike Norvell, they brought in another quarterback from the transfer portal, this time Thomas Castellanos, the former Boston College quarterback. They also have former Tennessee wide receiver Squirrel White in the mix. Will it be a difference? I think this Florida State team is going to be much better than last year. They're going to play spirited. The crowd is going to be into it. And I think Alabama's going to have to work for it. But I'm going to take the Crimson Tide and the Squeaker 27-24. Now, the big one, the other big one that a lot of people are talking about tomorrow night, as it's the Tigers versus the Tigers, as it's LSU out of the SEC traveling to take on Clemson out of the ACC. And it's basically Death Valley versus Death Valley as the Bayou Bengals travel to take on the Clemson Tigers. Clemson comes into this contest favored by 4.5 points. Both of these teams are in the top 10. Both of these teams have playoff aspirations. You look at LSU, and surprisingly, Louisiana State has lost their last five season openers. Some of that can be factored into the fact that LSU has been playing teams out in other power conferences. But nonetheless, I think the spotlight and the pressure is going to be on LSU head coach Brian Kelly in this one to get things started on the right foot this time for LSU. He's got a veteran quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier, plenty of NFL talent on this LSU team on both sides of the football. Wide receiver Aaron Anderson, as well as on the defensive side with middle linebacker Whit Weeks and outside linebacker Harold Perkins, just to name a few. Clemson's got plenty of experience as well. This team won the ACC and got to the playoff last year. Cade Klubnik, I think, is going to be in the mix as far as a Heisman Trophy discussion. I like these Clemson wide receivers with Brian Wesco and Antonio Williams. And then you've got to keep an eye out for middle linebacker Wade Woodass. Brian Kelly versus Dabo Sweeney. Two head coaches with a lot of experience, but I think Dabo gets it done at home, and that's why I'm going to take Clemson by the score of 30-24. And moving on to Sunday, because it wouldn't be the first full weekend of college football without a full weekend slate covering Labor Day and taking advantage of the fact that there's no NFL yet. But nonetheless, it's a homecoming of sorts in Atlanta as you've got Virginia Tech out of the ACC taking on 13th ranked South Carolina out of the SEC. And like I said, it's a homecoming of sorts as Shane Beamer, the current head coach at South Carolina, was once upon a time an assistant coach at Virginia Tech. And of course, when you think about the name Beamer, it is synonymous with Virginia Tech football because you think about how Shane's dad, Frank, put that program on the map. But nonetheless, the Gamecocks come into this game favored by 7.5 points. South Carolina really embodies their head coach in Shane Beamer. They play like a junkyard dog. They're relentless on both sides of the football. I like this South Carolina defense. They get after you. I like quarterback Lenora Sellers. And Virginia Tech's defense cannot afford him to get into a rhythm, either as a runner or as a thrower. And if they do, especially as a runner, it's going to be a long afternoon in the ATL. The Hokies, they're on the 7.5 point underdog. I think for if they're going to pull it off, Kyron Jones, their quarterback, is going to need to have a big game. I don't think it works out that way, and I'm going to take South Carolina by the score of 31-20. Now, another big one this weekend is you've got the sixth-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame traveling to take on the 10th-ranked Miami Hurricanes. Big time showdown by two teams who have aspirations of getting to the college football playoff. And of course, in the case of Notre Dame, they made the championship game of the college football playoff last year. And the last time that Notre Dame was at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. They were knocking off Penn State in the Orange Bowls, which were the semis of the college football playoff to get to the title game. But nonetheless, Notre Dame's got to try to find a way to recapture the magic from last January. They've got themselves a new quarterback and freshman CJ Carr. And if you're CJ Carr, your first start is against a top 10 team on the road. Marcus Freeman, the dynamic Notre Dame head coach, is going to have his team ready to play. Notre Dame doesn't try to go out there and beat themselves. And with that said, I expect them to have a heavy dose of running back Jeremiah Love in this one. But if this Miami defense tries to take him away, you've got a solid wide receiver in Jaden Greathouse on the outside. This Notre Dame defense no longer has Al Golden as their defensive coordinator, but there's still talent there with the likes of middle linebacker Drake Bowen, as well as this secondary. We saw Miami spend a lot of money in the NIL to get quarterback Carson Beck over from Georgia. Is he healthy, and will he be able to live up to the hype? The Fighting Irish come into this contest favored by 2.5. I think the atmosphere is going to be electric for this one. I think Mario Cristobal has his team ready to play, and I'm going to take Miami at home by 2, 24-22. And finally, on Monday night, it's a Big 12 ACC showdown of sorts. You got TCU traveling to Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. And of course, spotlight is going to be on new North Carolina head coach Bill Belichick. So much success in the National Football League with the New England Patriots. What is he going to bring to the table at Chapel Hill? He's rolling with Gio Lopez at quarterback. And at the end of the day, I think this North Carolina team is the ultimate wild card because we simply don't know what they can be or what they will be under Bill Belichick. Sonny Dykes, of course, he is no stranger to the college game. He's got a couple of years under his belt at Texas Christian, and they're looking to build off of their 9-win season from a year ago. He's got quarterback Justin Hoover, and of course, free safety Bud Clark simply feels like he has been there forever. The Horned Frogs are heading to Chapel Hill, favored by 3.5, but I'm going to take TCU by 10 in this one, 30-20. And folks, those are my picks for my key games in this weekend's action for college football. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check us out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. And the same goes for Instagram. You can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, you can check us out at the Sports Depot 365. And like I always say, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.